Lufthansa's Boeing 747-400 planes have been grounded for most of the past year. Several planes have been sent on a trip that won't take them further than the Mojave Desert. But 3 of them are stuck at Twente Airport in the Netherlands, and the time when they will be able to leave is getting closer and closer. When the COVID-19 caused epidemic hit, airplanes were faced with a big problem. How could planes that are currently stopped be used? Because most big airports didn't have enough room for all the grounded planes, there was a rise in demand for companies that store things for a long time. Lufthansa's choice to send 6 747s to Twente Airport in the Netherlands caused the airline more problems than the move might have been worth. Why do people have such a bad opinion of the Boeing 747s? You might be thinking, after reading this, what's wrong with having 3 Boeing 747-400s parked in Twente? The airline told Simple Flying that the Dutch Aviation Authority changed the airport's permission after its planes had already landed there after the changes were made. The airline said that when the plane landed at the airport, Category E planes like the Boeing 747-400 were allowed to land and take off from the airport for non-commercial maintenance, repair, and overhaul activities as well as for storage. But this was changed in the end, so that these planes could only land and not take off again. Even though Twente Airport has the tools needed to take apart a Boeing 747-400, Lufthansa would rather that this process not take place there. After hearing a complaint, the Dutch Aviation Authority agreed to let 6 Lufthansa Boeing 747s take off from Twente Airport. The planes had been parked there. Once they were at the airport and had a chance to look around, the Dutch Aviation Authority changed the airport's permission. The problem with the pass is that it is not clear when it will start to be used. After June 30th, the permission for one-time exits from Twente will no longer be valid, and it doesn't look like it will be possible to push this date back. This means that Lufthansa only has 3 months to move its planes before the deadline. A Lufthansa official told Simple Flying, at this point, there are no signs or plans to get rid of LH's B744s after this date. In light of this, LH is currently thinking about different ways its 3 surviving B744s could leave ENS. Does the airport have some bad news? A Dutch-language magazine called Tubantia says that if the remaining planes left the field, it would be considered a breach of contract, which would put the airport in a tough financial situation. The magazine says that when a 747 is parked at the field, it brings in about 10,000 euros or $11,750 per airplane per month. The Boeing 747-400 was called back by Lufthansa. On the other hand, if the planes left, which would be a break of contract, Twente would have to pay for the costs of taking the planes out of storage, moving them to a different location, and then parking them back where they were. This is because it is very unlikely that it will be able to meet its obligations under the contract it made with Lufthansa, since the plane won't be able to take off in 2019 as planned. The article says that this could cost more than 800,000 euros, which is the same as $940,000. This would mean that the money from the deal would not be worth anything. To give you more information about what's going on with Lufthansa, the airline said about 10 months ago that it would put the Airbus back into service in the summer. In answer to a question from Simple Flying yesterday, the CEO of the airline group, Carsten Spohr, said that the choice made a year ago turned out to be much more important than they had thought it would be. At the height of the pandemic, it didn't look like Lufthansa's fleet of Airbus A380 planes would be able to handle things well. All 14 planes were put into storage at 2 different Tarmac Aerosave sites in Spain and France. In August 2021, Spohr himself said that the A380 would obviously not be going back into service. The fact that this decision was reversed will help the airline a lot, which is currently something to be thankful for. I'm happy with what we decided. During Lufthansa's first quarter media meeting, Simple Flying asked Carsten Spohr a question. In response, he said, in English translation, "We are glad that we made our decision on the Airbus A380, which, 1 year after we made it, turns out to be even more important than it was when we made it." Spohr went on to say, during the past year, neither Airbus nor Boeing sped up their deliveries. Instead, they told us about more delays. I'm glad we started to use the reserve again recently. We can't make any decisions until we know when Airbus and Boeing will be able to deliver on time again. Not only good for running a business, Even though Lufthansa's decision to resume operations with the Airbus A380 was good for the airline's business, the decision to resume operations with the big planes flying under the Lufthansa brand was also a win on its own. Spohr said more about this in a later interview with Simple Flying. He said, "I think everybody is happy about the decision. No other plane gets as much attention in the media as the A380, which makes passengers, staff, and the media all happy." Let's take a moment to look at the good side of the shipping delays, shall we? Here, we see someone we've seen before. Once we have a little more information from Airbus and Boeing, we will wait to see how long that holds true. There was no place to put 3 planes. So far, the German flag carrier has been able to get 3 Airbus A380s out of storage. Even though it isn't carrying people yet, one of them is already back in service, and the other 2 are getting the repairs they need to get back in service. Right now, crew training is being done on the DAIMK. Yesterday, it flew to Leipzig, Prague, and Vienna by plane before returning to Munich, which will be its home for the rest of the summer. Lufthansa Technik is now doing all of the repair work on DAIMM in Manila. In the end, it will be traded for a plane with the registration number DAIML, which left Tyrol on April 21st for Frankfurt. On June 1st, the plane will start flying between Munich and Boston. On July 4th, it will also start going to JFK Airport in New York. During the winter, the A380 will make trips to Los Angeles and Bangkok. By the end of the year, it is expected that at least 4 A380s will have been returned to Lufthansa. Also, Lufthansa, a German airline, has said how much money it saves per passenger by not giving free meals and drinks on shorter and medium-range trips. Because one of the about 3,000 shareholders at Lufthansa's annual general meeting the week before asked a question, the airline was forced to give a detailed explanation of how it saved money by only giving away a small bottle of water and an even smaller chocolate square on intra-European flights. According to the Frankfurt Flyer blog, the shareholder wanted to know how much more it costs Lufthansa to serve its famous half sandwich, free food, and free drinks than its present buy on-board food. As a response, the owners were told that the old way of giving food away for free cost about 80 cents per passenger, while the new way of serving food only costs 33 cents per customer. This meant that each person saved 47 cents. Lufthansa also said that it makes an average of $8.65 from each customer who buys something from the onboard menu. So cutting costs is only half of the story. In the previous year, the Purchase On Board program bought in about 4.9 million euros for the airline. Due to a choice made by the airline, Lufthansa will no longer serve free meals on short and medium-range flights after 2021. On trips of an hour or more, a new menu called Onboard Delights was made available for purchase. Prices for fresh food started at about 5.5 euros. Each cup of coffee or tea costs 3 euros, and each soda or beer costs 3.5 euros. Lufthansa said on Thursday that it will offer savings on fresh food on its last flight of the day, which will go back to Munich and Frankfurt. This change was made to cut down on waste and bring in more money at the same time. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.